Welcome to the Hurry Network, where we're connecting people through networking. It's been quite a while since the last video has been released, I know. And I want to continue from that, by the way, actually. And where we left off was when we build a network with multiple computers, we use a switch, we're able to see how that worked and everything like that, right? And now the manager has asked us to do another task as well too. And let's look into our network, right? As we can see, this is where we last left off. And what we have to do is some basic configurations on the switch, such as giving a specific host name for it. Also, a banner message of the day, meaning that we give a message if someone tries to log in and they're not supposed to, giving them a warning, do not enter into the device, pardon me. And then enabling a secret as well too. So when you go into enable mode, it's going to ask us for password, right? And also even a password to enter into the switch, to console into it, because right now there is no passwords configured on the switch. It's a brand new switch, right? And on top of that, to not do a domain lookup, because sometimes if you wanted to type something and you type the wrong name and you enter it, well, it's going to try to look that up and it's going to take time, right? We want to bypass that. And then on top of that, what else we want to do is configure encryption for the running configuration on the passwords when we see that, so nobody can see the passwords as well too, right? And also to make sure we configure and secure the console port with the login, password information, and things like if log messages come up, it does not interrupt us with typing commands and things like that with a command called logging synchronous. So let's get into that right now, alright? And as you can see, I went into the configuration, the global config. I was able to enter into this device. I was able to see the running configuration. I was just looking into it. So you can see right here I did enable. EN is for short, show running config. And we can see that the host name is just switch. And all switches have a host name like that. That's not going to be a great name for us to remember each switch when we have more switches in the future, right? And then you can see nothing's configured on the interfaces, right? And also there's VLAN interfaces as well too, and we'll talk about VLANs and interfaces related with that later on, of course, right? Because we're gonna have to get involved in that based on this setup. And from here, you can see the line console. We'll talk about line VTY in another moment as well too, in another video when we're continuing this project of ours, right? So I did configuration terminal, by the way. So this is a short form for it, conf t. Now I'm in the global config, right? So now we want to just configure a host name. It's as easy as host name, and let's call this, since this is a layer 2 switch, right? We're gonna do SW for switch. We're gonna do layer 2, and we're gonna do a -01. And now that we see this, we're able to see that information, right? Okay, so we got the host name for this completed, which is great. Now banner is the next command for message of the day. MOTD. Let's see what options we have here. So we can put a symbol and mention the text, and another symbol to close it, right? So let's use, this is a symbol for example, and I'm going to give a warning message in capital letters: if you are not a network engineer or administrator, do not go any further. Alright, now we end it with that. Boom. Alright, perfect. So to see these configurations, we know we don't have to exit. We can do if we're in global config, and then show running config, right? Let's check that out now. So we see the host name right here, right? It's been updated. Also, let's see if we see the message of the day that we set up. If you are not a network engineer or administrator, do not go any further. There you go, right? And that's pretty much it so far. Now, we're going to configure passwords now, right? Cool. So, we're going to do it for the enable. Enable secret. Well, let's see the options first before I tell you that. There's password and secret. Secret's encrypted, by the way. Password is in clear text. So we want to do secret because it's more secure, just to let you know. Now, we can set up the text that we want to do. And let's just say, in this case, we are going to put it as something simple. But best practice, do not put a password like this. But in this case, in this setup, we're just going to do this, right? Or actually, matter of fact, because we are in an organization, let's take it more serious here, right? So, alright, and I'm just thinking about here, we can do this. Cool. That's going to be our enable secret. And also, we're going to do the same thing for our consoling in as well too. And to do that, we have to do line. And we can see console is one option, right? And the other one's virtual terminal. And that's going to be, virtual terminal has to do with telnet, by the way, and SSH, which we will deal with in another video. But for now, let's do this, console. And 0 is the only choice. Alright. Now, what options do we have here? We can see we have some options here, right? And what we're trying to do is, we're trying to do login. And then, after login, we are going to set up, you see, login is disabled until password is set. So now we have to set up a password. Okay. Alright. Now, so, if we do show running config, well actually before I do that, let's go back to the console. I just remembered something. Because if any logging messages come, we don't want that to interrupt us while we type commands. So what we can do is this, logging synchronous, and click enter. Alright, now if we do this, what we're going to see now. So we see that we have an enable secret. So we have a secret, and look, it's not showing us our password at all, right? But now if we continue, and look, we see a password here because it's not a secret. Password will show in clear text in the running configuration. Look, we see our password, and that's not good, right? Imagine if somebody else accidentally sees our configuration and they're able to see our console password. We definitely do not want that, right? So the command that we're going to do for that is this. Service, and then look, password encryption. Simple as that. Alright, now if we do, I'll do a short form for show run, right? And as we can see, now look, if we see here, before it showed a password, not no more. I encrypted it. So now our password's not shown, which is great. And we're going to do this. No IP domain, or you know what, we can show you an example of, actually let me exit here and I'll show you an example here. So you see how it says it's going to translate to the domain server, and we keep, like, let's say we type and we make a mistake and we try to click enter here. It's not good. This is going to take time. And we don't have something called SWE in our network, and we don't even have a domain server, which is, by the way, for the protocol DNS. is going to look for a host name and translate it to an IP address. That's what it's trying to do here, but it cannot do that since we don't even have anything like that set up to even begin with, right? So this takes some time to go through all this, and now as we can see, it's still taking time, right? Now let's say that some time went by. Now I see here unknown command or computer name, or unable to find the computer address. So if you don't want to deal with things like that, this is why we're going to do the no IP domain dash lookup. Okay, so now we have that as well too. And is there anything else that we're missing so far? Let's see. Based on what we said we were going to go over in this moment, we have set up the host name. We have also set up enable secret. We have also set up service password encryption. We can see that, right? And we have also set up what else? Well, the interface that's not set up yet. Interface VLAN is not set up yet, which we're going to have to, of course, work on. Now the banner has been set up as well too. And the line console has also been set up. So we can check anything else in line console that we think we could be missing. And let's see, from everything that's mentioned, oh yes, you can do something called EXEC timeout. And this means that if you're in the console for a specific amount of time and you're inactive, it's going to time you out. And let's say that we're going to do that for about 5 minutes, right? Or if 5 minutes is too much, 3 minutes even, let's just say. And 0 seconds. And enter. Okay? But the thing is that we see this in our running configuration and it's running right now. But there's a problem with that. If this switch actually goes off and turns off or resets, whatever we just configured will be erased, because this is within the RAM of the device. And that means that it's just temporary, right? We don't want that. We want something to be permanent. We want to make sure it sticks. So how do we know which one's going to stick into? So we're going to do show. There's also a startup config, okay? And this is going to be saved in something called NVRAM. NVRAM is permanent. But you see, look, startup config is not present because it's a brand new switch. So what we're going to do is we are going to write it into that, right? And how we're going to do that? Let's see what options we have here, right? So we can say write. We could actually say write memory and say OK. So we write into the memory the configuration. So now if we do show startup config, now we have a startup configuration, which is the same as our running configuration because we saved it into the startup, right? So we can see everything here. So we always want to make sure whatever configurations that we add, we always save it, right? Now, based on everything that we put here, let's take this to the test right now and see what's up and see what we can do. All right? And let's say that we brought in our laptop, right? And based on that, we brought in our console cable. We're going to put it here. We're going to put it into here. And let's make sure we're part of the same network as well too. We're going to just give a static IP address because that's the only choice we have as we can remember, right? Let's give it 100. The subnet mask of that should be fine. Now let's actually go into the terminal. So this is the port configurations to get in, the bits per second, data bits, parity, stop bits, all this stuff. just leave it as the default when we want to do this. Now, let's actually end this. Or exit, pardon me. Now, we're able to, now look, you see we got the message. This is the banner message of the day. If you are not a network engineer or administrator, do not go any further. It's asking us for a password just like we set up. So if we do remember our password, right? Okay, now we're going to go and enable to go into privilege mode, right? It's asking us for a password as well for that too, which we set up, right? And now we're in. And we can see, if we go back to show run, we're able to see the configuration that we set up. We've consoled into the device with a password this time, with security involved, right? And we can see that everything so far has been working well. And if we wait for even like 3 minutes, because that's the timeout if we don't do anything, it should kick us out, right? But we're not going to wait for that long. That's all I actually wanted to tell you and let you know for today's video. And until the next one, take care.